Anker's E10 is basically a hybrid between a power station and a traditional solar kit, which could be a great option for home backup power. It's marketed as infinite power, capable of backing up your entire home, but it's also not Anker's first go at something like this. So is it worth your money, or should you stick with something that's a little bit better understood? So welcome back to the lab, where our opinions cannot be bought. What you're looking at right here is known in the industry as an ESS. It's an energy storage system. It's basically a very simple traditional solar kit. It's similar to something like a Delta Pro Ultra. This top piece right here is an inverter, and each piece below it is a battery. It doesn't have plugs and ports on it like a Delta Pro Ultra might have. It's just got specific ports that you can plug adapters in to plug it to either a transfer switch, their smart home panel, or their smart inlet box, which is what we use to test just the one system. We did also test multiple E10s with their power dock and their smart generator and the whole setup, but we will do that in a later video. Today we want to focus on purely just the E10 as its own system with the smart inlet box. We've had this thing here at the lab for a while now, and Dylan has put it and Anker's tech support through absolute hell, trying to make sure that we have a really good understanding of this new product. And we think that we are ready to share our opinions with you guys on how we actually feel the good and, I want to say the bad, but it's more just what can be improved with Anker's all new E10. As always, we will leave links to this in the description down below, as well as any coupon codes we can get from Anker to save you guys some money where possible. But before we get into our experience, we're going to hit you with a super quick spec teardown in case you're not already familiar with the E10. First up, this thing does pass the tiny baby lift test. The inverter weighs 60 pounds and each battery weighs 130 pounds. Each battery is 6,144 watt hours, and you can stack up to 5 of them under each inverter. When it comes to the inverter, each inverter has a 7.6 kilowatt continuous output with a turbo mode of 10 kilowatts, and you can actually surge these things with 2 batteries up to about 37 kilowatts, which is insane. In terms of getting power into these batteries, you can charge it with a regular plug from your house at 1800 watts. You can also charge it with 240 volt adapter, up to 9,600 watts of AC power. You can also charge it with solar. There's a 9,000 watt solar input on these units, and Anker's DC generator is 4,500 watts. So there's a million ways to get power into this thing. In terms of plugs and ports on this guy, it's extremely simple. There's not a whole lot. On the one side right here, you have your on-grid AC input-output port. That one is where you would plug the smart inlet box into. It's basically a bi-directional plug. Then you have your just AC output port. That's where you would put your dongle, which would look something like this. So this is how you would get power out of the unit directly if you didn't want to run it into a smart inlet box or something like that. The cool thing is they're also all color coded. So this is gray and this AC output port is gray. And that's the only port that this is going to fit into. So cool. Good job, Anker, for color coding your shit. Welcome to kindergarten. And you have your AC input port. This is where you would charge it with like a wall plug adapter in there. On the other side, you have 2 sets of PV input. You have your PV isolator switch built in, which is nice. You have your Wi-Fi button and your power button, and then you have your DC port for the generator. Now, when it comes to Anker's smart inlet box, this is basically just a smart transfer switch. You only have 2 ports right here. You have your on-grid AC input output. That's what plugs directly into this. It's bi-directional. And then you have your backup port right here. If you guys take a look inside of this thing, it's pretty much just a load in, load out, just a transfer switch. This would go to a sub panel. You don't need this though. We use this in our testing because we wanted to make sure it's good, but you could theoretically just get this guy, plug it directly into the top of the E10 and run this plugged into a transfer switch that you already had existing for a generator or something like that. You don't have to go crazy with a system like this. In terms of the app for this thing, it's pretty good. Everything basically happens through that app. As you can see, there's no screen or buttons or anything on the unit. We'll get into that in a little bit. And right now, at the time of this video, with our discount code, this thing is $6,458, which gets you 1 unit, 2 batteries, and the little feet that go underneath. Jumping into a couple things that we really like about Anker's new E10, we're gonna start with a few small things. We really like the setup options. Like I said earlier, you can use the smart inlet box. You could also just use that regular adapter and plug it into a transfer switch you already had with a 50 amp cable. You can also get their power dock, which is basically like a smart home panel. We'll cover that more in another video, but we really like that there's multiple options for this. It's not just you have to go balls out to get it. You can just get a very bare bones version and still use it, and that's cool. It's also, I mean, cooled. It's a little bit of a con if you think about it, but when you first open this thing up, when you get it, there's actually a full protective film over top of everything because they don't give you punch outs. Normally with any kind of sub panel or smart inlet box or anything like this, there would be like a knockout so you could put your wire through. This one doesn't have knockouts. You actually have to drill your own hole wherever you want your cables. But what we liked was they went ahead, paid attention to the little details like Anker does, and they covered all this stuff with like a protective film. So when you're drilling, you're not getting little metal shavings in your terminals. And we thought that was actually pretty nice. And going with that, we also like that these just bolt the smart inlet box and their other panels. They just bolt right to the wall. There's no weird brackets and stuff that you need. This is easy to mount, easy to use. And we like that this unit has the PV isolator built into the side there. It's one less thing you have to mount externally, which is cool. We also really like the way this unit performed when we were testing it. Usually with bigger systems like this, when they trip, like if you overload it, if you surge it, you have to go manually turn it back on. At least that's how it's been with a lot of ESS systems. Traditional kits aren't like that. Power stations can be like that. This one, if you overload it, you surge it, it'll turn itself back on after a quick reset period, which is really nice, which means if you're not home and something accidentally surges it, it's gonna come back. You're not gonna get home when your house is freezing cold because your E10 turned off. And looking at the other testing results, the efficiency was 87%, which is really good. The inverter's doing a great job. The idle test was about 40 watts. So every hour you have this thing on, but not using it, just sitting there idling, it'll take about 40 watts from the battery, which means each battery, if you just had this plugged into something that intermittently runs like your sump pump, each battery will last 6.5 days. That's pretty good.
Very good.
And when it came to surging, this thing really, really impressed us. It is rated to do the 7,000 watts of continuous output, which it did. And at that 7,000 watts, we were able to surge it into the 30 kilowatts like it's rated to do. And it would work for 5-10 seconds, and then it would trip and it would turn itself back on when you were done. But it's not supposed to run continuously there. What that means is you'd have no problem starting like a 5-ton air conditioner or something like that directly off the unit, which is huge. Another really cool feature with something like this E10 is there is no wires. This is a stack and go system. Each battery plugs into the battery underneath it when you rest it on top, and same with the inverter. Right now, this could just lift straight off the battery. It's literally just clicked in when you put it on top, which makes for a really, really clean setup. And there's like little work for whoever buys this. You really don't have to set much up. You just put your batteries down, put your inverter on, turn it on. It's really nice. This is also a higher voltage system. What that means is that it doesn't run super hot. So traditionally, like a power station, all that kind of stuff, it's got fans. Fans are gonna kick on and run to make sure that it's nice and cool. This has huge heat distribution fins on the back. And basically when it gets really hot, the heat disperses through those fins and cools it down with no fan. So this is like a dead silent unit, which is really, really nice. And we also like that the base that it comes with has adjustable feet. So if your garage is absolutely like ours is, you can make sure that it's nice and level. A lot of these other things, they just sit like the LG high voltage battery. It just sits on a base. And if it's not level, you got to shim it yourself and figure it out. And the final thing that we really like is that having something like that smart inlet box, if you just set it up with this, you can go on the app and set your time of use settings. You can use something like this to peak shave really easy. And it'll help you earn your money back that you spent to buy it in the first place, which just helps you justify the purchase. It helps you get your money back on your investment. Basically, you could just take the low electricity rate in the nighttime, use it to charge your battery, and then during the peak hours of the day, you can have that transfer switch over so your house is using the battery instead of the grid. You basically shave that on peak pricing off of your bill, so you can save a decent amount of money, especially depending on where you live, with a unit like this just peak shaving. This thing wasn't perfect though. A couple things that we didn't like about it. The base does not come with the unit. So we have the adjustable feet on our base, put the base down, level it, stack your system on top. Right now it's free with your purchase, but it is a paid thing. So that's kind of annoying. Without it, you have like the batteries underneath have like an open cavity where you'd plug the next battery into. It's just one of those things, hopefully it's always free and they're just trying to make you feel good. Yeah. Some little things, like they have this screen on the front here, but it doesn't really do a whole lot. And you can only monitor this through an app, like the panels and the inlet boxes, none of them have screens. So that is slightly annoying. We wish there was some sort of visual that you could get on here, problem, error codes or something on here. Not a big deal, but it would be nice. And we also didn't love these handles. These are just plastic handles on the side. They look fine. You pick them up, they feel great, but they're just riv nutted on with very cheap Chinese riv nuts. And we literally already broke one off just picking it up to take it off the battery. Like I said, these sit on top and click into the battery. So you do have to give it like a little bit of a tug to get it to disconnect. And in doing so, we annihilated one of the handles. It hasn't really been around that long, so that's sort of disappointing. But they also have something built into this handle. I'm not entirely sure what it is. You guys can see right here, there's a cable right here that was attached to the back side of this handle. We basically took this out from in here. So in the back side of this handle, there was something. I don't think it was the Wi-Fi because it still works. I'm not sure what this is, but there is an electronic piece that has now come off. And you can see there's just two very small riv nuts that are missing. They're on the unit. You're gonna need something beefier to keep that from happening in the future. And then there was just a couple weird things with the overall functionality. In our opinion, this seems like they released it maybe a little prematurely. Like everything worked, everything was fine, but when it came to the app and the functionality of what it can do, what it shows you, all that kind of stuff, it felt a little premature. And Dylan basically dealt with all of that, and he was driving Anker absolutely insane, giving them feedback, a lot of things that we hope they can update in the future. But I'm gonna just let him explain those frustrations to you because he is the one that really felt them.
So we've had this Anker E10 system set up for a little while, and over that time we had it set up 3 different ways. One being the standalone setup, where you have one Anker E10 power module with 2 batteries, the second using their smart inlet box, and the third using their whole home power dock. In this video, we're going to talk about a few things that we didn't love about the setup when we had it as just a standalone unit and in use with the smart inlet box. The first thing that we didn't really like about this was a lot of how it was integrating with their app. They do have some updates coming out in March or April that hopefully will help improve how you'll be able to use these systems. Starting off with, when you're using this in standalone, you're able to just grid charge this directly with your 120 volt AC plug or your PV input. But what they're lacking when you're using it as a standalone unit is the ability to change its settings in the app to actually prioritize that PV input over top of your grid power. So you can't schedule its charging, you can't have it peak shave for you, and you can't say, hey, I want to prioritize all of the PV power I'm getting through the day and then wait until the evening to enable the grid charging. You can do that when you're using the smart inlet box because it's designed to be used just like Anker's bi-directional inlet box with their new F3000. We have another video of that if you want to go check that out. The other thing that we really don't love about using this as a standalone unit is it doesn't show you an estimated runtime based on your existing state of charge. With most power stations that we have, if it says you're at 80%, with whatever your existing load is coming out of that power station, it'll suggest a runtime for how long you can continue using it at that load with the battery you have left. For most consumers, that's nice to know because you can project when you're going to run out of power. This unit doesn't actually provide that estimation. The other thing that Anker also didn't integrate into the E10 unit when you're using it as a standalone system is a fast charge AC inlet method. So you can use either your 120 volt AC inlet or your PV input along with your DC generator, which is great because that's 4,500 watts of DC power, which means you're not occupying the inverter space when you're running that DC generator. But it would be great if they basically provided the male version of this so that you could plug this directly into a 15 amp AC power source and fast charge your battery. That would really allow you to maximize the performance of the system, given that Anker did design the E10 around the prioritization of grid charging. They really wanted to focus on peak shaving and whole home backup based on using your existing grid power. So the fact that you can't fast charge this unless you purchase and install a full smart inlet box is kind of shitty in our opinion. One of the other little quirks that we did find with Anker's app, and they said that they're hoping to work out in the next firmware update, was that when this is connected to either your 120 grid source or your 240 grid source through your smart inlet box, you aren't currently able to easily find the setting that allows you to slow down that charge rate. For us, that's important because if you're just buying this unit, grabbing that cord and plugging it directly into an outlet on the wall in your garage, you aren't able to easily find that setting to slow its charge rate down so that you're not blowing breakers. The thing is that setting is actually in there, but what they've done is they've labeled it under a third-party AC generator setting. But they've acknowledged that that grid power isn't always necessarily coming from a generator, so they're looking to change that in the next firmware update. Now, these issues may not seem like that big of a deal, but we just expect a little bit more from a big, well-known name like Anker, and that's just the issues that we have found with the standalone system. That's not even touching on the issues that we did find with the whole home system when you're using Anker's power dock, which Robbie mentioned will feature in another video.
So at the end of the day, is this something that you should spend your money on? I think this is a great entry-level system. If you're looking for something super simple that you can plug and play, one stack of batteries, one inverter, perfect for home backup, I actually think this is a really good unit. It's nice that Anker has heard our feedback and has said that they already have things scheduled in future updates. So this is only going to continue to get better, which we do like. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more permanent, it's something like a Delta Pro Ultra, but you don't want to have to go full out and wire it all like you would do in a traditional solar kit and have a mess like this, I think this is perfect. You could get multiple units, you can get their power dock, you can get their generator, and you can have the infinite power bundle that Anker recommends. But in reality, it is a really good buy and it will allow you to survive basically through any outage, peak shave, have home backup, and we think it is genuinely a pretty good, simple, like user-friendly beginner system. Like we said, if you're interested in seeing this with the multiple units and the bigger system with the generator and all that stuff, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video when it comes out. Otherwise, that is all we got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out and stay charged.